Alright guys, I'm back. After taking some time off to let the NFL draft settle in, I'm back with my fantasy football rankings. I'm going to be doing them position by position, and since running backs are the most important position in fantasy football, we're going to start with them. Guys, I love fantasy football, so if you enjoy these videos, let me know by hitting the like button, and I'll be sure to hook you guys up with weekly fantasy breakdowns. I've got a fantasy football sleeper series coming out closer to the season, but help me out by typing in a potential sleeper running back in the comments below. Let's get into these running backs. Le'Veon Bell is my clear-cut #1 guy this season in fantasy football. Nobody has been as consistently productive as an every-down running back over the last 5 years, despite missing 10 games in 2015 due to a torn ACL. Bell's ability to contribute in the passing game is what sets him apart from the rest of the running backs in the league. He's averaging over 100 targets in the passing game over his last 3 healthy seasons and enters 2018 in yet another contract year. Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers have been at odds for quite some time about the running back's worth, but he should yet again be motivated to dominate defenses this year and prove his value. The only argument that Bell is not the top fantasy option is due to the fact that the top fantasy wide receiver is also on the same team. But Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell have coexisted in fantasy harmony for years now, and that shouldn't deter you from taking him with the top pick in your fantasy draft. I think the only way someone passes on Le'Veon Bell with the first overall pick in fantasy drafts this year is if they are a fan of the Rams, Cowboys, or Cardinals and want their running back as the top pick instead. Ezekiel Elliott isn't in a contract year like Le'Veon Bell, but there might be no player more motivated than Zeke in 2018. Last year's roller coaster ride has left him with a thirst for revenge and redemption in 2018, and the Cowboys have reinforced the strongest part of their entire roster with second-round pick Connor Williams completing their offensive line. The Cowboys have steadily increased Zeke's role in the passing game each year, and after losing Cowboys legends Dez Bryant and Jason Witten this offseason, those targets are going to have to go somewhere, and I think that Zeke is a sneaky place for a majority of them. Defenses are going to be getting a heavy dose of Zeke this year, and I think he responds with an MVP caliber season. Todd Gurley won me a couple fantasy championships last year after so many people passed him in the first round. He's been one of the most talented running backs in the NFL since entering the league, and now that the injuries and Jeff Fisher are behind him, he's really come into his own as an offensive centerpiece. The Rams made moves to improve their defense this offseason, and that only helps Gurley be even more effective in 2018. Relying more on their defense means that the score will always be manageable and the Rams won't have to get away from the running game. The only concern I have with Gurley is that it's hard for a guy to have back-to-back seasons like he did in 2017, and paired with his injury history, I think he's slightly less of a sure thing than Le'Veon and Zeke. It might be a surprise to see Leonard Fournette ahead of guys like David Johnson, ALVIN, KAMARA, or KAREEM Hunt, but preseason fantasy football rankings are based on projections and not what have you done for me lately. Leonard Fournette is the focal point of the Jaguars offense, and until Bortles gets familiar with all of his new receiving targets and, becomes a reliable quarterback, Fournette is the guy in Jacksonville. They also have a pretty good defense down there in Duval. Last year, Fournette was bothered by deep tissue injuries which don't really go away without long periods of rest, and then he only missed 3 games on top of it and played through the rest of the injury. Fournette should be more prepared for the rigor of an NFL season in 2018, and I think that he makes the jump into the elite running back club. The Jaguars also signed All-Pro left guard Andrew Norwell from the Panthers to form a really good run-blocking trio on the left side of their offensive line with Cam Robinson and Brandon Linder on either side of him. Don't be surprised if Leonard Fournette also leads the league in carries in 2018. David Johnson is coming off of a wrist injury which he could probably have come back in 2017, but the Cardinals season was already lost and there was no reason to put more miles on the Cardinals Cadillac. The good news is the wrist injury won't impact his legs like most season-ending injuries typically do, but there will still be some rust initially, so don't panic if he gets off to a slow start in 2018. The quarterback situation doesn't help with projecting David Johnson's 2018 NFL season. I'm assuming they are going to start Sam Bradford week 1 and try to get off to a good start, and if they struggle down the road, then Rosen could come in, and it will mean an even heavier dose of DJ in the run and passing game. Either way, David Johnson is going to have one of the heaviest loads placed on him of any individual player this year because of his abilities as a runner and a receiver. KAREEM Hunt's rookie season happened in 3 different parts. He blew up in the season kickoff game against the Patriots and carried that momentum through the first couple months of the season, in which the Chiefs went 5-0. Hunt seemed to hit a wall for a bit after that, but I'm not sure if it was a physical thing or Andy Reid being his usual self and neglecting his star running back. Most likely it was a combination of the two, but the Chiefs offense started to click again in week 13, and they reeled off 4 straight wins to close the season, and Hunt was the common denominator in both of those winning streaks. With Patrick Mahomes taking over at quarterback, I don't expect there to be a transitional period for the offense to start the 28th season, but don't be surprised if there's another mid to late season lull for the offense once defenses get some film on Mahomes and company and Andy Reid gets bored with running the ball. Melvin Gordon was able to stay healthy and had his coming out party in 2017, showing a great ability to be an all-around running back for the Chargers. That was the guy that they envisioned when they drafted him in the first round. As Phillip Rivers gets older, I anticipate Melvin Gordon becoming more and more of the Chargers' focal point on offense. Head coach Anthony Lynn was a running back coach in the NFL for 14 years prior to becoming the Chargers head coach, and has always had a top rushing team in the NFL. Now with Lynn in his second year with the Chargers and a healthy and improved offensive line, Melvin Gordon is about to get unleashed on the NFL. Gordon is averaging averaged less than 4 yards per carry in each of his NFL seasons, but has still produced like a top 10 running back for the past 2. Gordon has a nose for the end zone and should be fed a ton of opportunities. Second-year running back Austin Ekeler was impressive in his rookie season, but he should remain a complement to spell Gordon rather than challenge him for carries, especially around the goal line. Alvin Kamara is the guy most reigning fantasy football champs have a massive hard-on for going into 2018, after he likely carried them to a title as a waiver wire pickup. And why shouldn't they after he was the lightning to Mark Ingram's thunder in their epic performance last year? I mean, on paper it would make so much sense just to take the production from Mark Ingram for the first 4 games while he serves his suspension and transfer it to Alvin Kamara, right? But Kamara never even had more than 12 carries in a game in 2017, so why are so many people expecting that it's going to work like that? The Saints offense made the shift towards a running offense in 2017 with their 2-headed monster leading the charge. Cut off one of those heads though and the monster isn't nearly as effective. It doesn't mean that he can't still be productive, but scale back those expectations of Kamara a little bit. You can't have lightning without the thunder, so expect Kamara to get off to a slow start without Mark Ingram, softening up the defense for him early on. I'm not targeting Kamara in the draft, I'm targeting him for a trade around their week 6 bye if he struggles a little bit. For those that saw my mock drafts know I was strongly against the Giants drafting Saquon Barkley, but that doesn't change the fact that he is one of the best running backs walking into the league. He's definitely going to provide instant results compared to the slower results from drafting a franchise quarterback. Eli Manning is washed up, but even he might be competent enough to just hand it off and get the ball off to OBJ and Evan Ingram. The Giants are only a year removed from being a decent team, so adding a threat at running back could transform them into a well-balanced team that may very well exceed expectations. Barkley's fantasy value has a high floor with a top 5 running back ceiling. Derrick Henry finally gets his chance as the lead back in Tennessee after DeMarco Murray has been the starter for his first 2 years in the league. If you think about how much wear and tear Derrick Henry had on his body coming into the league, those 2 years as a backup / closer were perfect for him to get his body right to carry the load. The Titans didn't draft Derrick Henry in the 2nd round to be a part-time player. Just in case he's not as effective in the league dog role, the Titans signed Dion Lewis from New England. Don't let Dion Lewis scare you from drafting Derrick Henry as early as the 2nd round because he's just going to be a change of pace guy and won't be stealing goal line carries or anything like that. Lewis is going to be a 3rd down back at best for the Titans. So that's it for my top 10 running backs in fantasy football in 2018. If this video reaches 500 likes, I'll post another deeper breakdown of each guy in my top 20 and why I'm higher on guys like Christian McCaffrey and lower on guys like Jay Ajayi than most people are going into the season. Please hit like and subscribe, join the notification squad, and I will see you guys in the next video.